into the final album of the night and the fifth Who album that we're going to cover. The first live album by The Who and the first live album of the 1970s that we're going to cover. Now, can you guys remember how many live albums in the 1960s did we cover? I did my homework on this, but let's see how many you guys can remember.
Are we including bonus episodes?
Including bonus episodes, yes.
James Brown. I think Elvis was a live album.
Yep.
Right. James Brown and Elvis were both
Sam
there.
Cooke.
Sam Cooke, yep.
B.B. King.
Mm-hmm.
Otis Redding.
Otis Redding. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's 5.
There's... I don't know. I can't think of any other ones.
No, there were no other live albums, but we did have albums with pieces of it that were live. Like, for example, Big Brother and the Holding Company had some songs on that one that were live. And then there were some other ones that had one live song or several live songs on it. Yes, that's what I was going to say. So it's really just the ones that we mentioned right there. Now, did you notice...
We got them all, I think.
Did you notice something very interesting about who had live albums that were on there that is different than The Who?
They're all black.
They are all
artists. Elvis wasn't black. Elvis
well, but they were all. Let's make it a little bit more woke. After I just talked about it's people that did R&B and soul music, right, for the most part, and definitely in that genre. We've talked about this before. We talked about how albums are sort of underrepresented because a lot of the thing was getting people to watch you live, right? And so the idea of the single and the live performance sort of outstripped the album in those genres a lot of times. The Who, in many ways, of all of the power groups of the 60s, were most designed, along with the Stones, to go see them live, right? Because what we saw was a lot of groups that were studio junkies at this point. You know, and I don't mean in the drug sense, but it could be in the drug sense too. But a lot of folks that went into the studio and recorded albums, right? Most notably the Beatles. They were recording albums and not really touring. But the Who were always designed to be a live band. So I guess after Matt gives us the numbers, I'll start and kind of give my take at the beginning.
So this is number 327 in the Rolling Stone list. And in Best Ever Albums, it comes in at 153 in the 70s, number 23 in 1970, 663 overall, and it is the 6th highest rated album from The Who. We covered all of the other ones except 2. So we got 2 more for the 70s to cover that we're actually going to do on the traditional podcast.
We'll have to see who's next, Matt. So, yeah.
Right there, John. Yeah.
So,
and then we'll have to go down to see a quadrophenia.
Yeah, no, that's not even worth it.
What does that even mean? Okay, go ahead, John. Oh wait, first I have a question before takes.
What
version? What did you guys listen to?
I wanted to bring that up in the conversation.
So let's start this out because if you look, right, there's 6 tracks on the original album, but you can't find that original. I couldn't find it on either Apple Tunes or Spotify because they all had the deluxe version. So what did you guys do for that?
I couldn't help but look into this as I was listening to the album. I went by the original 75 LP release, so I just listened to the songs that were on that.
Okay, and you noticed you had to skip around for that because it's not like that was just the beginning. You had to actually, that's what I did too.
Only 6 songs on the original 75.
John, what did you do?
I went by the goddamn expanded edition for this one. It's hour and 17 minutes, 14 songs, but not the super expanded.
Oh, yeah, the super expanded is all Tommy live.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that one. I did the expanded edition, which clocked in at 1 hour and 17 minutes, 14 songs. Yes. So
I thought John was going to do because according to John's notes on the spreadsheet, it was 38 minutes. So he went against. Okay, all right, John.
I only expected you guys to listen to the 38 minutes, but dead giveaway. I love this album because this is what The Who is supposed to sound like. This is The Who are designed to be listened to live. When I tell people that I love The Who, like this is what I love. The live, energetic. It's got what I also loved about this is it has it's interesting because we didn't cover every Who album, right? So what I loved about this was some of the songs from A Quick One were on this. A bunch of their non-album singles were on this, including some of my absolute favorite Who songs like Substitute and Happy Jack, songs I absolutely love. Tattoo, which was arguably my favorite song from Who by Numbers. Fortune Teller, which I feel like was covered by every single major rock band in the 60s. I don't know. There's a Stones version of it that's pretty famous. There's this version. There's a whole bunch. In fact, I do think the Stones version of Fortune Teller is kind of my favorite of all of them. This is such a good. This is like peak Keith Moon. He's just drumming through your headphones as you listen to this.
Yeah.
He's just so vibrant and just destroying fills. And he's that. The thing with Keith Moon when he's in there is he plays so differently. He doesn't really play in the pocket. He's just thundering on the drums. There's those like machine gun fills in here. I love the rawness of this album. I actually love that Roger Daltrey's voice doesn't sound perfect. I love that it's sort of, at times, he's digging for his bass sounds great on this album. It's the Who where the rhythm section is up front. I love that occasionally you can hear missed notes, which gives it a grittier feel. I love this. I mean, I can't put a live album ahead of sort of some of the studio albums that are perfect in terms of the rankings, but in terms of as an enjoyable listen, this is the most enjoyable listen of a 70s album we've had. And I've loved some 70s albums we've covered, but this is like, to me, this is like what the Who are supposed to sound like and what the Who sound like when they're great. So I'll kick to Josh. I'll see what Josh's take is.
Well, you stole my thunder. Is this the best live album of all time? I mean, I've never heard this before, but
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's.
I love that Roger Daltrey like banter with the crowd. I love that the crowd's kind of, you don't hear the crowd too much, which I appreciate, but that lets you hear all the magnificent drumming by Keith Moon, and they just sound so good. They sound so hard. The guitars are crisp. It really does justice to who they are in a way that I have not heard before.
Fair. Well, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, this is great. God, what stands out to me is John Entwistle's bass, man. Holy crap. Mm-hmm. That sound of that is so heavy and it's so out front. I mean, we talked about that before with some of their other records, but it was as prominent here as it's been in any record, any studio album that we've heard, and certainly complemented with Keith Moon's drumming, the fills that he does. He does some ridiculous fills. That guy is insane. Yeah. He's an absolute beast.
Counterintuitive fills too at times.
Yeah, he's a maniac. And what's even better is not just listening to it, but seeing him play. If you ever see videos of him playing, it's just the guy. He's like otherworldly.
Well, he's who Animal from the Muppets is based on.
Yeah. So it's also interesting that there's a lot of it's very kind of, some of the songs, like particularly the last two, it's very jammy, and Daltrey's kind of off to the side. He's for a lot of these songs he's kind of conspicuously absent, which made me kind of wonder, what is he doing on stage, like when the band's kind of rocking out like this? Because he doesn't really, he'll occasionally play a tambourine or something like that, but I just wonder, kind of visually, what is he doing? Is he just standing there like feeling the groove? Does he go off stage
seducing the audience?
Yeah, doing all his dances and stuff. It's just no, but this was great. I did listen to this the first time. I did listen to it the proper, the way that from the original release, and then I did cheat it. I listened again, to the full version. I think that obviously this was the original one's a little tighter. The longer edition has more banter, has more talking, and actually like storytelling. Not a huge fan of that. Can skip, as far as you can skip past that. It's like, okay, but just get to the music. But as far as just the music goes, it's great. They do sound great. I would have loved to have been there. That just would have been an insane show to be at. And I liked how they infused, like when they did My Generation. That's the longest song on here, but there's a lot of stuff from Tommy. They're always doing like the medley, in there. So I really like that as well. So the Who's great. I've definitely grown to appreciate them more doing this podcast, and I've always been familiar with this record in terms of knowing that it's out there. The cover, it's a very plain cover, but I've seen that time and time again, just never listened to the record, but really did like this. And the Who kicks ass, man.
Can I just mention how awesome a song Substitute is, by the way? There's a reason it's been covered like 9 jillion times. Like, I always think of the Sex Pistols version of it, right, is the one that immediately comes to mind. But it's just such a great, tight chorus. It's like punk rock before punk rock. That crunchy sort of sound from the guitars and the bass and the drums all being sort of condensed into a chorus that I love and would love about punk music later. Magic Bus is an awesome song. We've talked before about how the 60s, one of the things that's amazing about a lot of the groups in the 60s is how many non-album songs they had. And, whether it be the Kinks or the Beatles or the Who, and a lot of those kind of come here, and it's just so good. All you could think of is how much you would have loved to have seen this show live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's and heavy. I just can't emphasize that enough. Just how heavy that bass and that, the bass in particular is just very, very prominent up front, and I really do like that. So
there's another awesome live album by The Who that same year that I remember listening to as a kid. It's from live at the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970. Mm-hmm. And as we're talking right now, I'm just trying to pull up the set list for that to just see how much of it is similar. But there's a fair amount that is on side one of that, but it's amazing how they varied their set list too. So I would strongly recommend that album as well. It's a fantastic album. I think it's pretty long though, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's 1:12:19, so just under 2 hours. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of different big editions, like I think the Super Deluxe edition that has a concert that's live at Leeds, and then there's live at Hull.
Yeah,
which I did see that Daltrey felt that was a better show than the Leeds show, but both of them it's a bit much. Both of them do the entirety of
Tommy.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to do that. But
and it actually looks like the set list is very similar, to be honest, between the two. So you could listen to two of the same concerts done at different nights.
You know what's fascinating about this too, and we haven't gotten there yet, but Who's Next is coming out in 71, so it's going to be a few episodes down the road. But boy, does this not sound like Who's Next? And when we get there, it's it's interesting to see that they went from this in 1970 to where they go in, Who's Next. And I don't know how. I mean, it sounds like you're familiar, Matt, a little bit. Josh, how familiar are you with Who's Next as an album?
That's probably the album I'm most familiar with, actually.
Okay,
because that's always like the best one, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, so Tommy, this stuff, and then Who's Next. It's going to be really interesting to have that context on this. But yeah, this is a real strong recommend for me. Real strong.
Yeah. Strong recommend for me too. I might see what Tommy sounds like live. I think that would be an interesting experience listening to that, because I was kind of mediocre on that.
Well, did you?
On that
what
CD
I will say about this, because you did hear a little bit of it, like I said, in the My Generation medley.
Yeah.
But what I really like there, they do the underture in there, and I liked the live version better. I think that it was a heavier, rawer version. I actually think there was more stuff that was going along, more instrumentation, more music. It was more musical and heavier, and I appreciated that song much more with this version, with the small part that they did it. So I did like that.
And I've seen Tommy done by performances that actually make it a little bit rocked up in that sense, that are better, I think, than the album. And then I've seen ones that have taken it full cheese, like light, and made it worse. So that's another thing. Like, it's some of them Pete Townsend was doing, and then some of them are just different people, taking their interpretation of it for better or worse at different times. So, yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was the easiest album for me all week to easy recommend. Like, couldn't be any. It's everything I've been saying about the Who for the previous 4 albums. Like, rhythm section up front. Pete Townsend, underrated. Songwriter. They're incredibly heavy for their time. If you want to hear where punk music came from, it's the Who. It's all of that stuff hits on this album. And even if you didn't agree with me before, it's like, okay, now here's where it all comes in. So,
and you knew this. You knew this coming in tonight, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you think if somebody? I would say, do you think if somebody who didn't know the Who, you would point them to this album to say this is what the Who are all about, or would you start them somewhere else?
If you don't need if you don't need things to be pristine, some people don't like sort of the raw sound and stuff, then if you don't need it, yes, this is where to start. But if you do need it pristine, there's other places you could go first. And it's also hard because 60s Who and 70s Who are just very different bands. So I think that if you really like 70s Who, some of 60s Who might not appeal to you as much. And this is a rundown of like greatest hits of 60s Who, and so, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we have listened to some of this stuff before, so it kind of makes me appreciate the songs, like the medley that Matt was talking about more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say this is definitely. I actually forgot about this. I think earlier I said that Cat Stevens was my favorite of the albums that we covered tonight, and this is probably it actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, but those are definitely the two highest ones I'd say that we did tonight.
I'd say they were my two tops too, Matt, and Curtis Mayfield would be third.
Yeah, this one and Curtis Mayfield are my top ones.
Okay. So to recap for tonight, let's go like Siskel and Ebert. Thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down. Where do you guys stand on Santana? Josh?
I would say thumbs in the middle.
Okay. Matt?
That was a thumbs up for me.
Okay. And I would say thumbs in the middle for me. Cat Stevens? Josh?
Thumbs up.
Matt?
Yeah, thumbs up.
And I would say thumbs up for me as well. Grateful Dead?
Thumbs down.
Okay.
I'm in the middle.
And I would say thumbs down, but slightly. So James Taylor, we can avoid Matt because we already know how he feels about that.
I'm chopping my thumbs off.
Yeah,
I have no thumbs.
Gotcha. I think that was an easily discerned viewpoint for that episode. How about you, Josh?
Thumbs down for me.
Yeah, I might have to say thumbs down on that one as well. Curtis Mayfield, I think we're equally as aware that Josh loved that album, so I think that's a thumbs up. I don't want to speak for him. Is that correct?
Yes, 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. How about you, Matt?
I'm up on that. Thumbs up.
Yeah, and I would say thumbs up for me as well. And then I'll just blanket it across the board. The Who, thumbs up. And for John, 2 thumbs up, 2 toes up, 1 middle finger up along the way. I
thought you were going to go somewhere else, and I'm glad you didn't.
Oh no idea. Come on now, we're a family show. Despite the 7
Roger
other
Daltrey
references
does
that
have
made
quite
us.
the sex appeal, John. So
He is. He's a primal rock god. So and speaking.